She texted her new address to the wrong number, and a lonely millionaire showed up with flowers. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us get back to our main character. It was a rainy Tuesday evening in Brooklyn. The kind of rain that blurred headlights and turned every streetlight into a hazy halo. Inside her half-unpacked apartment, Mia Harper sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by boxes and the faint smell of fresh paint. She had just moved out after her breakup, still reeling from 5 years that ended with a single text message. Tonight, she wanted only one thing back: her cat, Luna. Her phone buzzed in her hand. With a sigh, she typed, "Here's my new address. You can drop Luna off anytime after 7. Then she hit send. Seconds later, the message showed, "Delivered." No second thoughts, no hesitation. She did not realize that the number she had just texted belonged to Ethan Walker, a man sitting alone in a glass-walled office 30 stories above the city. Ethan was not supposed to be there this late. His assistant had left hours ago, the rain tapping against the window like quiet reminders of everything he had lost. A framed photo on his desk showed a woman with kind eyes and a laugh, frozen in time, his wife, gone for almost a year now. He had built Walker Technologies from scratch, earned headlines and fortunes, but lately all the numbers and meetings meant nothing. Then his phone lit up. "Here's my new address. You can drop Luna off anytime after 7. He frowned, staring at the message. Wrong number, obviously. But the line about Luna, his late wife's favorite name for their old rescue cat, hit him like a whisper from the past. He almost deleted it. Almost. Instead, something in him moved. Something small and stubborn. The part of him that used to believe in signs. 2 hours later, Mia was still unpacking when the knock came. 3 soft raps against the wooden door. She frowned, glanced at the clock, 7:02 p.m. and froze. Could it really be her ex bringing Luna this soon? She brushed the dust from her hands and opened the door. Standing there was not her ex. It was a man in his 30s, tall, dressed in a dark suit damp from the rain, holding a bouquet of lavender wrapped in brown paper. Water dripped from his sleeves, and his eyes, gray, tired, searching, met hers with quiet surprise. Hi, she stammered. "Can I help you?" He looked just as uncertain. I might have the wrong place. You texted me this address?" He lifted his phone slightly, the screen still showing her message. Mia's cheeks flushed. "Oh no, oh my God, I must have sent it to the wrong number. I am so sorry." He smiled, a small, almost forgotten kind of smile. "No harm done. I was just in the neighborhood." He glanced at the flowers, suddenly awkward. These were for someone else, but well, they match your walls. She blinked, then laughed, the sound fragile but real. "You were kidding, right?" "Not really." He handed her the bouquet before she could refuse. "They are lavender. They mean calm. You look like you could use some." And somehow, she did not argue. As Ethan turned to leave, the rain came harder, drumming on the awning above them. For a second, neither spoke. The city hummed in the distance, and in that brief, uncertain silence between strangers, something invisible shifted like 2 broken frequencies, accidentally finding the same station. Mia whispered, "Thank you, whoever you are." He paused, looked back with a faint, wistful smile. "Ethan," he said, "Ethan Walker." Then he walked down the hall, leaving a trail of raindrops and the faint scent of lavender behind. Mia stood in the doorway, the bouquet pressed to her chest, her phone still glowing with that one wrong text that had somehow brought a stranger to her door. She did not know it yet, but her life had just changed forever. The next morning, Brooklyn was wrapped in pale light. The rain had washed the streets clean, and Mia Harper woke to the soft hum of city buses below her window. The lavender bouquet sat on the kitchen counter, its scent filling the small apartment. She still could not believe last night had actually happened. A stranger had shown up at her door with flowers because of one wrong text. She poured herself a cup of coffee and glanced at her phone. No new messages. Maybe that was for the best, she thought. People like him belonged to another world, one that never brushed against her small studio and her list of unpaid bills. Still, she caught herself smiling whenever she looked at the lavender. Across town, Ethan Walker stood at his office window, his reflection caught between glass and gray sky. He had barely slept. The image of Mia opening her door, her startled eyes softening into a shy smile, had replayed in his mind all night. For a man who signed million-dollar contracts without blinking, a wrong number should have meant nothing. Yet somehow it felt like the first real thing in a long time. When his assistant, Claire, entered to review the morning schedule, she paused. "You look different," she said lightly. Ethan gave a small smile. "Just thinking about how mistakes can surprise you," he replied. She looked puzzled, but he had already turned back to the window. That afternoon, Mia carried her sketchbook to the small cafe below her building. The air smelled of cinnamon and roasted beans, and the chatter around her was a low hum of comfort. She opened her book and began to draw a man standing in the rain, holding flowers, his face half hidden. Her phone buzzed on the table. A new message lit the screen. "Sorry again about last night," it read. "I realized I never said thank you for not slamming the door in my face." Mia smiled, shaking her head. She typed back, "You did show up with flowers. That usually earns a pass." Almost immediately, another message appeared. Then, "Let me buy you coffee to even it out." She hesitated for a moment, then answered, "Fine, one coffee, public place, daylight." The next message came quickly. "Smart? Tomorrow, same cafe?" The following day, Ethan arrived first. He wore jeans and a soft gray sweater instead of his usual suit. And when Mia walked in, her hair damp from the drizzle, he stood up too quickly and nearly spilled his coffee. She laughed, and the sound seemed to warm the space between them. They talked easily. She told him about Luna, the cat she was still waiting to get back, and he told her about his love for late-night walks when the city went quiet. She mentioned her sketches, downplaying them as nothing special, but when he asked to see them, she slid her notebook across the table. He turned each page slowly, studying her drawings of city streets, tired faces on subway benches, and the one that made him pause, a sketch of himself holding the lavender bouquet in the rain. He looked up, his voice softer now. "You have a real gift, Mia." She laughed under her breath. "You are being kind." "I am being honest," he said. Sometimes one small act changes everything. Outside, the rain had stopped. The world beyond the window shimmered with wet light. For the first time in months, she felt her guard lowering, just a little. When they left the cafe, he held the door open for her. She thanked him and walked away with her sketchbook pressed to her chest, a smile she could not hide spreading across her face. Ethan watched her go, the scent of coffee and lavender still hanging in the air, and for the first time since he had lost his wife, he felt something stir inside him again. Something fragile, something that felt a lot like hope. Days passed quietly after that afternoon at the cafe. Mia Harper returned to her small apartment with a lightness she had not felt in years. The lavender flowers had started to dry, but she kept them on the counter as a reminder of something she could not quite name. Every morning she found herself checking her phone, pretending not to hope for a new message. Every few days one came, a text from Ethan. Sometimes a photo of his morning walk by the river. Sometimes just a simple question, "Have you had breakfast yet?" That somehow felt more caring than anything she had heard from anyone in a long time. Ethan Walker kept his routine, meetings and deadlines filling his calendar, but the rhythm of his life had shifted. He found himself smiling at random moments, distracted during board discussions. His assistant Claire noticed but said nothing. The guarded look that had once shadowed him was softening, and even the staff could feel it. When he left early one afternoon, holding 2 cups of coffee, Claire looked after him and murmured, "Whoever she is, I hope she is worth it." That evening, Mia was sitting by the window sketching the view of the street when her phone buzzed. Outside. Thought you might need coffee and air." She looked down, and through the glass she saw him on the sidewalk, holding a paper cup in each hand, his hair ruffled by the wind. Her first instinct was to panic. She had not cleaned the apartment. But then she laughed at herself, grabbed her keys, and went downstairs. They walked along the damp street, side by side, the city glowing softly under the streetlights. Ethan told her about a project his company was funding for animal shelters. She listened, surprised by how passionate he sounded. He was not the cold executive she had imagined. There was kindness behind his quiet voice. She told him about losing her job at the design firm and about her dream of opening a small studio for community art classes. "You should," he said firmly. "You have the eye for it. You see beauty where most people do not." His words lingered in her chest long after he walked her home. That night, Mia added a new page to her sketchbook, a pair of hands holding coffee cups under the same umbrella. Weeks passed, and their friendship deepened. They met often for coffee, sometimes for dinner. Ethan never pushed for more, never tried to impress her. He simply showed up, listened, and remembered every small detail she shared. He brought cat toys one day, laughing that it would be good practice for when Luna finally came back. One Saturday morning, Mia was at the local animal rescue, searching for supplies for Luna's return, when she noticed a familiar face on the television above the counter. The news anchor was speaking in a crisp voice. Ethan Walker, CEO of Walker Technologies, announced today a new community initiative called Keys to Kindness. The image showed him on stage, standing under bright lights, surrounded by cameras and executives. He looked confident, distant, a man who clearly belonged to another world. Mia froze, her fingers tightening around the bag she was holding. CEO, billionaire. The same man who had texted her good morning and brought her coffee in the rain. She felt something heavy sink in her stomach. All this time, he had never told her who he was. Her thoughts tumbled. Had she been a charity project? Was their friendship a form of pity? That evening, when Ethan texted, "Dinner? My treat," she did not answer right away. She stared at the screen for a long time before typing back, "Sure, where?" They met at the same cafe where it had all begun. He looked happy to see her, but she could barely meet his eyes. The silence stretched until she finally said, "Why did you not tell me who you are?" He blinked, surprised. "Who I am? Ethan Walker, the millionaire. The CEO on the news. You let me talk about struggling to pay rent while you own half the skyline." His face fell. "Mia, I never wanted to lie. I just wanted to be seen as a person, not a headline. You should have trusted me enough to tell me the truth." Her voice trembled but stayed steady. "Do you have any idea how small that makes me feel?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. The cafe seemed too bright, the world too loud. "Mia, please, I was going to tell you." Quote. She shook her head, standing up. "You had every chance. You did not." He stood too, but she was already leaving, her chair scraping softly against the floor. Outside, rain began to fall again, gentle but cold. Ethan followed her to the door, stopping just short of stepping out. "Mia," he said quietly, his voice breaking. "It was never about pity. You made me remember what real felt like." She paused, not looking back. "Then maybe you should have remembered honesty too." Quote. And with that, she walked into the rain, the lavender scent from her apartment still clinging faintly to her coat. Ethan stood watching until she disappeared into the blur of headlights, his heart heavy with the weight of the truth he had waited too long to share. That night, Mia placed the dried lavender bouquet into the trash. For the first time in weeks, her apartment smelled only of rain. Days slipped by after the night of their argument. Brooklyn's skies stayed gray, and so did Mia Harper's mood. She tried to fill her days with work at a small design shop that hired her temporarily, but nothing seemed to pull her focus. Every corner of the city reminded her of Ethan Walker, his quiet voice, his unguarded laugh, the way he looked at her like he finally saw something worth staying for. The lavender bouquet was gone, yet its absence felt louder than its scent ever had. She told herself she had done the right thing, that honesty mattered more than comfort. But each evening when she sat by the window, her sketchbook open on her lap, her pencil refused to move. The page stayed blank. Across the river, Ethan buried himself in meetings. The launch of his Keys to Kindness initiative was approaching, and his team buzzed around him with numbers, charts, and speeches. None of it mattered. The spark that had once made him believe in the project was gone. He had thought building something that gave others hope would somehow fill the emptiness inside him. But now he realized the hope he wanted had been standing in front of him all along, and he had lost it. One evening, Claire placed a folder on his desk and hesitated before leaving. "You built this company by being brave," she said softly. "Maybe it is time you use that same courage for something else." Then she left, closing the glass door behind her. Ethan sat in silence for a long time. Then he opened his laptop and searched for something he had not dared to before. Local art classes, small exhibits, community studios. His fingers hovered when he saw her name listed as a participant in an upcoming open-air art fair. A week later, Mia was there, her booth tucked between handmade pottery and jewelry stands. She had forced herself to display her sketches, though her heart was not in it. People smiled politely and moved on. She was packing up early when she heard a voice behind her. "You said I should have trusted you," Ethan said quietly. "You were right." She froze. He was standing a few feet away, no suit this time, just jeans and a worn jacket. In his hand was a small envelope and something wrapped in paper. "I did not come to justify myself," he continued. "I came to tell you the truth I should have told you that first day. The money, the company, none of it matters as much as what I found by accident when you texted the wrong number." Mia looked down, unsure whether to speak. He placed the envelope on her table. Inside was a small card with her name, and a logo she did not recognize, her art, printed beautifully across the top. "It is a gallery contract," he said. "A chance for your work to be part of the Keys to Kindness exhibition. It is in your name, not mine. You deserve to be seen." Quote, she felt her throat tighten. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you showed me what real kindness looks like, and because I miss the way you see the world." For a moment, the noise of the fair seemed to fade. He looked at her with that same quiet honesty she had once trusted. Mia took the card slowly, fingers trembling. "You could have sent someone else." "I know," he said, "but I wanted to look you in the eyes when I said I am sorry." There was nothing left to say. He turned to leave, his steps slow, heavy. But as he walked away, Mia called softly, "Ethan." He stopped, hope flickering across his face. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was small but real. He nodded once, his smile faint but sincere, and walked into the fading afternoon light. Mia looked down at the gallery card in her hand. For the first time in weeks, she felt something stir inside her again, the quiet beginning of forgiveness, and the faint outline of hope returning. A month passed, and autumn began to touch Brooklyn. The air grew crisp, and golden leaves gathered along the sidewalks like small fires against the gray pavement. Mia Harper worked quietly, spending her evenings painting for the upcoming Keys to Kindness exhibition. She still did not know if she was ready to see Ethan Walker again, but the thought of her art hanging in a real gallery filled her with something she had not felt in a long time: purpose. The night of the exhibition arrived. The event took place inside an old industrial building that had been transformed into a sleek, glass-walled space. Strings of warm lights hung from the ceiling, and the soft hum of conversation filled the air. Guests wandered between the displays, sipping wine and studying the artwork. Each piece carried the theme of compassion and second chances. Mia stood near her own corner, wearing a simple navy dress, her sketchbook displayed open beside her paintings. On the wall hung a drawing she had almost decided not to include, the one of a man standing in the rain, holding a bouquet of lavender. It drew more attention than she expected. A woman leaned over to read the small caption beneath it, "The wrong message that found the right heart." Mia smiled faintly. She had not seen Ethan since that day at the art fair. He had sent a short message confirming that the contract was hers alone, nothing else. She had thought she was fine with that. But standing here tonight, surrounded by people praising the project he had built, she felt her chest tighten with memories she thought she had buried. Then, through the crowd, she noticed him. Ethan was standing near the main stage, speaking with a reporter. His dark suit was simple, his posture calm, but when their eyes met across the room, the noise around her faded. He looked surprised at first, then quietly relieved. Without hesitation, he began to walk toward her. "Mia," he said softly when he reached her. "You came. I told you I would," she replied. "This is your event, after all." He shook his head. "It is yours too. You helped inspire it." She glanced at the lavender sketch. "You mean the mistake that started everything?" He smiled gently. "Sometimes the wrong turn is the only road that leads us home." For a moment they simply stood there, surrounded by the quiet hum of admiration from the guests. Then an announcer's voice called from the stage. "And now, the final piece of tonight's showcase, a new installation donated anonymously to the gallery." The lights dimmed, and a curtain lifted at the far end of the hall. Behind it was a framed canvas larger than any other. It was Mia's sketch of the lavender bouquet, but recreated in full color and on a massive scale. At the bottom of the frame, written in delicate gold letters, were the words, "For Mia Harper, the art of finding light again." Quote, gasps rippled through the room. Mia turned to Ethan, eyes wide. "You did this?" He nodded slowly. "I wanted the world to see what I see when I look at your work. Hope, honesty, a reminder that kindness can begin with one wrong message." Tears blurred her vision. "You did not have to do this." "I know," he said quietly, "but I wanted to. Not because I owe you, but because you changed me. You showed me that wealth means nothing if it cannot be used to make someone believe again." Quote. The music swelled softly in the background. Mia stepped closer, her voice trembling. "You really mean that?" He smiled, eyes shining. Every word. The silence between them was full, warm, and alive. Then, with a nervous laugh, Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small lavender keychain. "I kept this from the first day. You said every key has a story. Maybe this one could open something new." Mia took it in her palm. It was simple, just a silver key with a tiny lavender charm, but it felt like a promise. "What if I am afraid?" she whispered. "Then let me be patient," he said. "I will wait as long as it takes." Her fingers closed around the key. "Maybe do not wait too long," she said softly. He laughed, and for the first time since they had met, it sounded free of sorrow. That night, as they stood side by side in front of her art, the lights reflected in the glass around them. The wrong number that had once brought a stranger to her door had led them both exactly where they needed to be. And for Mia Harper and Ethan Walker, the mistake that started with a text had finally become the beginning of something true. Winter settled over New York like a quiet blanket, and the city moved at a slower rhythm. The Keys to Kindness exhibition had ended weeks ago, but its echo lingered across the art community. Critics wrote about the sincerity of the pieces, and one name kept appearing among the reviews: Mia Harper. Her story as the artist who turned a wrong text into a message of hope drew as much attention as her work itself. Ethan Walker watched the coverage from his office window, the same office that once felt like a cage. Now it felt different. Every article about the project made him smile, not because of his success, but because her name was beside his. He had promised to wait, and he had kept that promise. He sent her the occasional message, short, careful, never pushing too far. Each one was returned with warmth. It was slow, steady, and real. One evening, when snow began to fall softly against the windows, Ethan left the office early. He walked through the quiet streets toward a small art studio in Brooklyn, where Mia had started teaching weekend classes. Through the frosted glass, he could see her standing before a group of children, showing them how to mix colors on their palettes. Her laughter floated through the air, clear and gentle. When the class ended, she looked up and saw him waiting by the door. She smiled. "You still remember where this place is?" "I remember everything about that night you texted me," he said. "It is hard to forget something that changed everything." Quote. Mia wiped her hands on her apron and nodded toward the small Christmas tree in the corner. "You came just in time. We were about to decorate it." He helped her hang paper ornaments shaped like keys and lavender stems, the same symbols that had started their story. The room smelled faintly of paint and pine. For a while they worked in silence, the kind that feels comfortable and full. Finally, Ethan reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He did not kneel, did not make a speech. He simply opened it to reveal a delicate silver pendant shaped like a tiny key. "Mia," he said softly, "this is not a proposal. Not yet. It is just a promise that when you are ready, I will be here. No secrets, no walls, just us." Her eyes shimmered in the soft light. She took the pendant and turned it over in her hand. "You really never give up, do you?" "Not on the things that matter," he replied. She smiled and fastened the necklace around her neck. "Then I guess I will have to see if you keep your word." Outside, snow continued to fall, blanketing the streets in quiet peace. Ethan stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You once said every mistake teaches us something. What did this one teach you?" Mia looked at him, her voice steady. "That sometimes the wrong number leads you to the right person." He smiled, and this time she did not look away. They stood together beside the twinkling tree, the world outside slowing to a hush. And as the snow fell heavier, Ethan reached for her hand, holding it gently, as if afraid the moment might disappear. But it did not. It stayed soft, real, and certain. That night marked the quiet beginning of something neither of them planned, but both had finally found. Love not born from perfection, but from a simple, beautiful mistake that had brought two lonely hearts home. Spring arrived quietly that year, brushing away the long winter with soft rain and the scent of new beginnings. The small studio in Brooklyn had grown into something more than Mia Harper ever imagined. What started as weekend art classes had become a community space filled with laughter, colors, and second chances. She named it Lavender Light Studio, a quiet tribute to the bouquet that had once changed her life. Ethan Walker kept his word. He came often, never uninvited, always bringing something thoughtful, a box of paints, fresh coffee, or sometimes just time. He had stepped down from several of his company's boards, choosing to spend more of his life outside the corporate walls. When people asked him why, he only said, "Because there are things in this world you cannot buy. You have to earn them, moment by moment." One Saturday morning, Mia stood by the window of the studio, watching the sunlight pour across the wooden floors. Children were painting in the back room, their laughter mixing with soft music from an old speaker. She turned when she heard footsteps. Ethan was standing there, holding a small canvas wrapped in brown paper. "You still bring surprises," she said with a smile. "Only the meaningful ones," he replied. "May I show you something?" He unwrapped the canvas carefully. It was a painting her, sitting at a window, sketchbook in hand, light falling across her face. The colors were gentle, alive, every brushstroke filled with something that felt like love. Mia's breath caught. "You painted this?" He nodded, almost shyly. "I tried. I wanted to see the world the way you do. It made me realize how much you have changed my view of everything." She touched the edge of the canvas, her fingers trembling slightly. "It is beautiful," he smiled. "It is unfinished, like us." Their eyes met, and for a moment the whole room felt still. The space between them was no longer uncertain. It was steady, warm, and real. Later that afternoon, Ethan helped her close up the studio. As they stepped outside, the air was filled with the faint scent of blooming lavender from a nearby garden. The sky was streaked with pink and gold. He turned to her, slipping his hands into his pockets. "You once said mistakes have lessons," he said quietly. "I think ours had a purpose." Mia looked up at him, her smile soft. "It did. It brought you to my door." He laughed under his breath. "And you let me in." They began to walk toward the corner cafe where they had shared their first coffee, the same one where everything had started. The sign above the door flickered gently, and the sound of clinking cups drifted through the open windows. As they sat down, Ethan reached into his jacket and took out a small envelope. Inside was a letter, simple, handwritten. "This is the official proposal," he said with a grin. "But you can read it whenever you are ready." Mia tilted her head. "You could have just asked me now." "I know," he said, "but I wanted to do it your way, through words, through art, something that lasts." She looked at the envelope for a long time, then placed it in her bag. "I will read it," she said softly. "Soon." He smiled, knowing she meant it. As evening settled over the city, the two of them lingered at the cafe window, watching the lights of Brooklyn flicker to life. Around them, life carried on ordinary, beautiful, and full of small miracles. And somewhere deep inside, they both understood that the wrong text message had not been a mistake at all. It had been fate's quiet way of teaching them that love, when it finally finds you, never arrives on schedule but always right on time. The following week arrived with soft rain and the scent of lavender blooming outside the studio windows. Mia Harper had been meaning to read Ethan's letter for days, but something inside her wanted to save it for the right moment. It sat on her nightstand, untouched, waiting. Every time she passed by, her eyes lingered on her name written in his careful handwriting. One quiet evening, she finally opened it. The words were simple, not grand or polished, but they carried the kind of honesty she had always wanted. Ethan wrote that the moment she opened her door that rainy night, his life had changed direction. He admitted that fear had made him hide who he was, but love had taught him to be real again. He wrote that he did not need perfection, only presence hers. The letter ended with a single line that made her heart tremble. "If love is an art, then you are the masterpiece that taught me how to see again." Tears filled her eyes as she folded the letter and pressed it to her chest. She did not need to think anymore. She knew what she wanted. The next morning, she walked through the drizzle to Ethan's building, the one she had only seen in passing. The lobby guard smiled when she introduced herself, and a few minutes later, she was standing in front of the glass door to his office. He looked up from his desk, startled but smiling as soon as he saw her. "Mia," he said, standing quickly, "you came." She held up the letter in her hand. "I read it," she said softly. "And I think you were right. Our mistake was not sending the wrong message. It was waiting too long to answer it." For a moment, he said nothing, just walked toward her slowly. "So, what does your answer say?" She smiled, her eyes bright through unshed tears. "It says yes, to all of it." He let out a breath that sounded almost like laughter, full of disbelief and relief. Then he reached for her hand, and she let him. Outside, the rain began to fade, leaving the city washed clean and shining. They stood together by the wide window overlooking Brooklyn, the skyline glowing in the early light. Ethan whispered, "You once said you wanted to find where you belong." "I did," Mia said, "and I just found it." Their hands intertwined, and silence filled the room, not empty, but full of every word they did not need to say. That morning, two people who had once been strangers because of a single wrong text finally stood exactly where they were meant to be. And for the first time since fate had crossed their paths, there were no more mistakes, only beginnings. A year later, spring returned to Brooklyn, warm and bright. The city felt softer somehow, as if it had learned to breathe again. The small art studio that once held only sketches and hope now overflowed with color. Children painted at the back tables, young artists pinned their work on the walls, and in the front window hung a sign that read, "Lavender Light Studio, founded by Mia Harper and Ethan Walker." That morning, the studio buzzed with quiet excitement. It was the anniversary of the first Keys to Kindness exhibition, and tonight, a new show would open this time, entirely curated by Mia. She stood near the window, arranging a vase of fresh lavender. Behind her, Ethan placed his hands gently on her shoulders. "You still get nervous before every event," he teased softly. She laughed. "Maybe that is what keeps me honest." He looked at her reflection in the glass and smiled. "That is what keeps you human, and it is the reason I fell in love with you." The doorbell chimed as students and guests began to arrive. The smell of paint and flowers filled the room, blending with the hum of laughter. On one wall, under the glow of soft lights, hung the painting that had started it all, the man with the lavender bouquet standing in the rain. Beneath it, a small plaque read, "The wrong message that found the right heart." When the crowd thinned, Ethan took Mia's hand and led her outside. The evening air was cool, and the city lights shimmered like stars. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple silver ring. "No speeches this time," he said quietly. "Just one question." Quote. Mia smiled, eyes bright. "Then the answer is yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and for a long moment, neither spoke. Around them, Brooklyn hummed taxis, laughter, the endless rhythm of life. Ethan whispered, "It all began with one wrong text." Mia leaned against him, her voice warm. "And became the best mistake we ever made." Under the glow of the streetlights, they kissed gently, surrounded by the sound of the city that had witnessed their story from the very first message. And in that moment, everything, every mistake, every rain, every word had led them exactly where they were meant to be.